right. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Lifeline for Daily Living. So glad that you've joined me again today. I've taken a little bit of a hiatus from doing podcasting, and now we're back with it. And I hope that you'll go to my YouTube channel and click on subscribe, click on like, and click on that little bell, and you'll get notification. But I want you to follow all of these podcast episodes because I think they're going to be really, really important for you. And I want to start off the new year by talking about something that I think is really unique and really special about starting a new year. I want you to understand, and maybe you do, that there's nothing really magical about 12:01 on January 1. There's nothing magical and mystical about changing over to a brand new year. Nothing mystical or magical is going to happen. It's not like all the problems go away and all the frustrations go away. But what I want you to do today, beginning this new year, is I want you to look at it in maybe a little bit different perspective than you have before. This has been a tremendously difficult year. I think that goes without saying. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of information and misinformation and rules, and then changing of the rules and all of that kind of stuff that's been going on. And so we have been faced in a very unique way with constant changing. And I don't think 2021 is going to be any different. I don't think this new year is going to be any different. I think we're going to see constant changing here, there, and there's a lot of uncertainties about the new year, and a lot of uncertainties that maybe about your life that you're just not sure if things are going to happen the way you want them to happen. Again, I want you to remember there's nothing mystical or magical about 12:01 on a new year, January 1. There's nothing magical about that. Some of you will face some of the same kind of frustrations that you did in the last year. Some of you will face new frustrations. Some of you will face loss like you did last year. You'll face loss this year. No one can predict the future. No one can. And so I'm not even going to get into trying to predict how things are going to go for you or for me, for your family or my family in this next year. I think if anything, this last year, just kind of points to the fact that changes happen when you least expect it. If you remember back January 1 of last year, we were all getting over the Christmas stuff and getting over the holidays and launching into a brand new year, and then we started to hear things the last of January, first part of February, and then things really hit hard in March, and that forever changed the way we look at things. One thing that I think is notable here, and I don't know if it's happened for you, but it's happened for me, and that is I look at things a little bit differently than I did last year. I look at things differently this year than I did last year. Things that I took for granted last year, I don't take for granted this year. People that I took for granted last year, I don't take for granted this year. Plans that, this time last year, my wife and I were planning on taking a bike trip out west to the Rocky Mountains, and that fell flat. So changes are going to happen. Now here's the thing. How are you going to deal with that in this new year? How are you going to manage that? How are you going to navigate all of those changes that will be coming in this next year? Well, I want to give you some tips, some pointers, if you will, about how to handle this uncertain, ever-changing world that we live in for this next year. Number one is I want you to be able to let things go that you can't control. I think there's a misunderstanding or a misinterpretation, if you will, that we control things. if anything has been proven false this last year, it's the fact that we control things. Think about where you were January 1 of last year and where you are right now, and how many things have happened. Whether it's because of the coronavirus or because of other circumstances, that maybe you've lost your job, or maybe you had to cut back, or maybe you're working from home now. All those changes. Let go of the things that you can't control. Now, I think to a certain degree, all of us want to be control freaks. All of us did. All of us want to feel like we're in control of our own destiny, that we're in control of our own life. But if anything has been proven last year, and that is that there's really very little that you and I have control over. See, we can't control others. We can only control ourselves. So stop holding on to, let's say, past hurts. Stop holding on to past disappointments. As you head into this new year, think about what's ahead. Yes, there's uncertainty, but there are some things that you can control. You can control your time. You can control your attitude. You can control all of that stuff. But there are things that you and I cannot control. And so forget about those things. Just adjust as you can, adapt as you can, and then move on with your life. So first of all, let go of things that you cannot control. Number two is accept and embrace reality. Now, one of the things that has been said often since March of last year, and that is that we're living in a new reality, a new normal. I'm not sure what that is. What we're going through is certainly not normal. People working from home, although some people have always worked from home, for some that's not normal, and so it's not a question of getting used to a new normal. It's not about that, but it is about accepting a certain reality. Life sometimes is simple, but sometimes it can be complex as well. Think of it this way. Things that either happen to you or for you. Think about that. Things either happen to you or for you. If they happen to you, then you are a constant, perpetual victim. If things happen for you, then you become a student. You learn from those things. So if there's been some pain, some hurt, some disappointment, some frustrations from last year, what are you going to learn about that or from that? What are you going to learn? See, things either happen to you or for you. If they happen to me, then I'm constantly complaining, I'm constantly blaming, I'm constantly playing the victim card. But if they happen for me, then I can move on with my life and learn the lesson that God wants me to learn in and through those various things that happen. So pay attention to the way you perceive your life. Things either happen to you or for you. If they happen to you, then you're a victim. If they happen for you, then you're a student and you can learn from those past failures, mistakes, and so on. Number three, change your mind. Let me suggest that you change your mind. Now, a lot of things are changing, right? I mean, think about it. A lot of things are changing, constantly changing. If you keep up with the news, sometimes things change rapidly throughout the day. You'll get up in the morning and you'll read about the news, or you'll listen to the news on television, and something is happening that it's true for that moment, it's true for that hour. By the time you get to the end of the day, whoops, no, forget about that. Here's what's now happening. So change is like breathing. Okay, it's like breathing. It's a part of the process. It's not the process. I want you to get that. Change is like breathing. It's not the process. It's part of the process. So in reality, the only thing that we can count on in this life is change. Think about this. you're not the same person today that you were yesterday, and you'll not be the same person tomorrow that you are today. Think about that. You're not the same person today that you were yesterday, and you'll not be the same person tomorrow that you are today. The same is true with circumstances. The things that are happening today may not have happened yesterday or last week or even last year, but they may change going forward. Growth is impossible without change. Think about that. The only way that you and I can grow is to change. I remember back, and maybe you do too, I remember when I got my driver's license, man, that opened up a whole new world for me. And I'm sure it did for you. And then you know, when I graduated from high school, opened up another series of changes. And then, you know, when I got married, that opened up a whole new different kind of life. Life is about changes, and we can either resist it or we can adapt to it and go with it. If you cannot change the way you perceive things, then you can't change anything about your life. You just can't. It's impossible. I look at things differently this year, going into this new year, certainly than I did last year. Things that I took for granted last year, I'm not taking for granted this year. People I took for granted last year, I'm not taking for granted this year. Plans that I had set January of this year and even January of last year, nothing is certain. And so one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn is to be flexible and to be adjustable with what's going on right now. Change your mind. Change the way you perceive things and how you adapt to changes. Number 4, hold tight to the good things. Hold tight to the good things. Now again, if you listen to the news much, or you're on social media, it is flooded day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute. It is flooded with catastrophic things that are going to happen. Everybody is predicting. They become prophets, and some people are prophets of doom. Heard one person say that this is going to be a dark, dark winter. And if you look at things that way, yeah, it probably will be. Hold on to the things that are good. For instance, your family is good. Your health, maybe it's not the best in the world, but still, you got up this morning. It's good. Whenever life tries to knock you down, get back up. Get back up. When you can't see anything but darkness, grab a flashlight and shine a flashlight on something that seems dark to you. Goodness is bright. Goodness is bright. Cling to that which is good. Cling to that which is good. I want to challenge you to do something, maybe even as you're watching this. And if not, while you're watching this, maybe pause it, or you can go back and repeat it. But I want you to list out going into this new year, 5 good things that you can hold on to. 5 good things that you can hold on to. And watch what that does to your perspective. There's so many negative things that are going on, so many negative things that are being printed. Hold on to that which is good. Number 5 is give yourself time to rest and regroup. Again, with social media, we are inundated 24 hours, literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We are inundated with news, good news, bad news. This is happening, that's happening, conspiracy theories, this, all this is going on. Maybe what you need to do is just unplug. Just unplug for a little while. I'm not saying for the rest of the year, but just for a day. Just unplug and focus on the people in your life that God has blessed you with. Rest and regroup. Strength isn't about bearing a cross of grief or shame. Strength is about choosing that path that you want to walk down. Which path do you want to walk down? Gloom and doom, or something that is bright, that is hopeful? Maybe you attempted something last year and it failed. Okay, it failed. Doesn't mean that you're a failure. Doesn't mean that at all. What you can do is learn from that, and okay, you tried. You attempted something, it didn't work. Maybe you attempted going back to college, that didn't work. You attempted a new relationship, that didn't work. Okay, pick yourself up, dust yourself off. It's a new year. It's a new year of opportunities. Rest and regroup. Gain a new perspective. Gain a more hopeful perspective. Don't be drugged down by the baggage from last year. Okay, regroup. Get strength again. Hope. Hope is something that all of us need, particularly during this time. We all need hope. I'm not talking about false hope. I'm talking about real, genuine hope. See, you may have failed at something last year. That doesn't mean that you're a failure. I want to say that again. You may have failed at something last year. That doesn't mean that you're a failure. No, no, no. Stop telling yourself that because I failed at this or that or whatever, that I'm a failure. You're not a failure. You're only a failure if you allow that to permeate your thinking. And that, the Bible says, as a man thinks, so is he. As a man thinks, so is he. So if you think I am a failure, guess what? You're going to behave like a failure. It's not that you're a failure. You failed at something. Pick yourself up, learn from that past failure, and then move on. Okay? So rest and regroup. Number 6, and this may sound a little odd given the current circumstances that we find ourselves in, but learn to take risks. Learn to take risks. Making a big life change can be really, really scary. Think back to March of last year. Think back to that. Man, all of us were told that these changes had to be made. And we were asked to take risks. Well, getting into a new relationship is a risk. Ending a toxic relationship is a risk. Getting married is a risk. Going out and driving is a risk. Getting up out of your bed in the morning is a risk. So take a risk. It's okay. Now, I'm not saying just throw caution to the wind. What I am saying is don't let new opportunities or that rely on risk. Don't let that cave you in and make you paranoid or make you want to bolt the doors and pull the curtains and just stay in your home. No, life itself is a risk, is it not? Anytime you think about it, anytime that you and I get in our automobiles and get out on the road, whether it's to go to the store or take a long trip, it's a risk. None of us can predict the future. So live your life so that you can never regret not taking the risk that you could have taken. I think one of the worst things that can happen to any individual is to be sitting in their chair one day and think about, well, if I would have done that, then this could have happened. If I would have taken the risk, if I would have stepped out in faith a little more, if I would have done, playing the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. Man, I don't want your life to be like that. I don't want my life to be like that. And I certainly don't want your life to be like that. So, and I'm not saying throw caution to the wind. What I'm saying is be willing to take a risk. If it's a calculated risk, okay. Do the research, think about it, pray about it, and then take the risk. Number 7, appreciate what you've learned. Appreciate what you've learned. I think living life is one big lesson after another. And so nothing is more beautiful nor powerful than a smile that has struggled through a river of tears. Nothing is more beautiful than that. Don't regret your time, even the moments that were filled with hurt. Remember what I said before, things either happen to you or for you. Perhaps a broken relationship is something that happened for you, not to you. Maybe losing that job, while in the immediate looks very, very hurtful, is actually something that happened for you. Maybe meeting that new person in your life, that new friend, that new person that maybe you want to spend, maybe that happened for you. So you have to leave this behind in order to experience this. But the key here is, what have you learned? What is the lesson that you have learned, or lessons that you have learned from the past? What is it? See, there can be no new beginning unless there's an appropriate ending. I want to say that again. There can be no new beginning unless there's an appropriate ending. So maybe for you, some things, while at the time they looked hurtful, and they looked like, the bottom has dropped out of everything, and it was the worst thing in the world that could have ever happened to you, maybe, just maybe, it happened for you. Maybe working at home is something that happened for you. One of the things that researchers now who study these kinds of things have said, that since March, with all of the virus things and people working at home, that there's been more focused effort on family relationships, on renewing relationships. There's an old saying that I grew up with: "You're never thirsty till the well runs dry." So those relationships that you took for granted, that job that you took for granted, that whatever you took for granted, now, watch, maybe that happened for you. Now, I'm not saying that this virus was intentional. I'm not getting into that. What I'm saying is, in your life, whether it's the thing with the virus or something totally unrelated to the virus, maybe it happened for you instead of to you. And so the question comes, what are you going to learn from those past failures? What are you going to learn from those past failed relationships? What are you going to learn from all of the hurt that you've been through over the last year? What are you going to learn from all of that? Is anything going to change in this new year? Finally, I want you to realize that every step you take is a necessary step. Every step you take is a necessary step. Nothing is ever wrong. Okay, we tend to divide things into black and white, wrong or right. Nothing is ever wrong when we learn from it. Okay, we may have done something wrong, but it's not wrong if we learn from it and not to make the same mistake again. See that? So the wrong that happened actually becomes a lesson for us to learn not to repeat that wrong again. So whatever you did today was a necessary step for tomorrow. So some of you had the courage to leave a toxic relationship. That step was necessary in order for you to gain perspective on what a healthy relationship is. For some of you, a job ended so that something else could happen. It was a necessary step. Something has to end before a new beginning can happen. Get that? Something has to end before a new beginning. So again, there's nothing magical about this new year. I want you to kind of put that out. Those of you who make New Year's resolutions, I don't make them because I blow it after 20 minutes. But if you do, there's nothing magical about that. But what it does is it sets goals. Now, some goals are too lofty. I want to become a president of a certain company, in 6 months. That's probably a very lofty goal. Okay, probably not very attainable. But look at the steps necessary to achieve an appropriate goal. So, you accomplished some things this last year. You made it, right? You made it through all the stuff that happened to you, through all the stuff that happened for you. You made it through yet another year. So pat yourself on the back. Be happy about that. And then understand that everything that happened over the past year was a necessary step to get you to a new beginning this year. So how are you going to look at this new year? Are you going to look at it with optimistic eyes? Or are you going to look at it through a pessimistic lens? Is your glass going to be half empty or half full this next year? What's it look like for you? Are you filled with dread? Is it going to be a long, dreary winter for you? Or is it going to be something where you can look forward to something positive, something hopeful, something over the next horizon, something that maybe you can't even begin to perceive right now, but something good can happen to you? I want you to think about all of this as you look forward to the weeks and the months in this new year. Think about all of the steps that I've talked to you about, all the things that you need to do in order for this to be a positive year. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Lifeline for Daily Living. If something I have said today has caused some churning in you, some stirring in you, please, I want you to reach out and contact me. My phone number is 573-732-4575. You can call me. We can talk about things. You can set up an appointment. I want to help you get a positive start for this next year. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you right here next week on Lifeline for Daily Living.